Franco Ordonez is a White House correspondent for McClatchy News and co-host of their Majority Minority podcast. He joins us now from our Washington bureau. I'm just wondering, as far as you're seeing all of this, as prosecutors, we believe, are prepared to rest their case at some point, how much pressure all of this has been putting on President Trump, who has not been reluctant to chime in almost daily on the trial in general.
It's a tremendous amount of pressure. I mean, you just pointed it out. It's the daily tweets. It's Rudy Giuliani going on cable news outlets day after day after day. Clearly, this is something that has them under the gun. They're feeling the pressure. They would like to get this done, hence why they continue to demand repeatedly to end the Mueller investigation. They don't like this continuing. Trump would like to have this done in the next 2 months. That seems very unlikely.
The president tweeted yesterday about the Mueller probe, saying, "Stay tuned." And it's safe to assume that President Trump and his attorneys, as they negotiate a potential interview with the special counsel, that they know much more than we do. And the special counsel, of course, knows much more than everyone else. What are some of the leading theories as to why President Trump would be so vocal about this right now, and why he would be trying to discredit the investigation so intensely?
I mean, I think there's a lot of, I mean, I do not want to speculate, but there is a lot of concern and a lot of understanding that what could come out could be very difficult for the president. We've had a lot of questions about what was known, what he knew about that interview, that conversation at the Trump Tower with his son. Did he know about that in advance? Trump originally said that he didn't, yet he helped write the response for Trump Jr. Now there's reporting out there that potentially he did know about this in advance. So there's a lot of questions about whether he could be trapped in a situation of obstruction of justice, of some kind of collusion. You know, all of this is a bit, to be determined, but there's no question that his attorney, Rudy Giuliani, is very concerned about putting his client, the President of the United States, in a vulnerable position against a very well experienced veteran lawyer and Robert Mueller.
And we know that Rudy Giuliani sees that topic of obstruction as a bit of a third rail, because he says, well, the president may be interviewed by the special counsel so long as he's not asked about obstruction of justice. So a very kind of interesting dynamic there. And the tweets that President Trump is retweeting and quoting are suggesting there's real collusion between the Democrats and Russia. But then the president also says collusion is not a crime. So try and make sense of that. I want to ask you, though, about another topic the president raised this morning, announcing he's authorizing tariffs on steel and aluminum to be doubled as far as Turkey is concerned. He also claimed relations with the country are not good at the moment. What's driving the president to do this so publicly?
What this appears to be is driven about an American pastor from North Carolina who's been held in Turkey that the United States insists should be returned. The administration, the United States, has been pushing repeatedly to have this pastor returned. Turkey has refused. Hence the tariffs. Now, the administration obviously is saying that the tariffs are related to, in regards to, as previous tariffs, a national security issue. But there are a lot of more questions about whether there's truth to it. Senator Lindsey Graham today seemed to indicate that this was about punishment as opposed to what these tariffs are typically for. And being about punishment, tweeting out that he did not want this to come to this extent. He felt that the case against the pastor was a sham. So certainly Trump is using tariffs as a tool. He has said he would use them as a tool. On another note, they've also kind of spooked the markets a bit. Earlier today, the S&P dropped about 0.5%, I believe it was. So there are more concerns that this could be precedent for other actions like this.
And the other news item President Trump is choosing to weigh in on is NFL players kneeling during preseason games. He's tweeting that a football game is no place to protest. These players don't know even what they're protesting against. But yesterday we saw him hold a prison reform roundtable at his golf course, bringing attention to criminal justice reform. Is there a consistent narrative from this White House on this issue of either race relations or inequality?
I think it's fair to say that there's a lot of inconsistencies out of this White House. It is an interesting, juxtaposition that you're putting out there, Earl. There should be no surprise at all that the president is going after the NFL and the NFL players. He has said early on that this was an issue that he feels that he can win on. The Dallas Cowboy owners, Jerry Jones, said Trump told him that in a deposition, that this is a winning issue for him. Trump allegedly said to tell everybody, as in all the other NFL owners, that they can't win. This is a winning issue. As you point out, though, it is true that yesterday he just brought in ministers and other leaders talking about criminal justice reform. It's a fascinating situation where you have politically, you have Trump continuing with the bluster, continuing with the attacks, some laced with racial undertones, while at the same time, more quietly, he's tackling things of substance, such as reducing sentencing, helping reentry programs, and improving education in the prison education system. It's quite interesting.
It's interesting. It makes you wonder how much of a priority it is for the president. We know his advisor and son-in-law Jared Kushner is really the force behind prison reform, and so for the president to send these tweets out that seem to contradict the actions he took the day before, as you say, are interesting. I want to quickly ask you about the Democrats and essentially their leadership, because the 27th Democratic candidate has come out to say she would not support Nancy Pelosi as a leader. Does the Democratic Party have a leadership problem if they do, as they hope to, retake the House?
This has been a big challenge for the Democrats for some time. A lot of talk, a lot of push that they need new leadership, younger leadership to take over the party. A lot of concerns about this. Look, the Democrats are optimistic and feeling good about taking control of the House. The Republicans are just barely holding on to a 23-member lead. The momentum certainly is in the Democrats' favor. That said, Nancy Pelosi's name is, a bit of red meat for the Republican base. It's almost like calling out Clinton to certain sectors of our population, and the Republicans are going to use that. She is the focus of many attack ads criticizing her and painting all of Democrats in kind of her vision, which is seen, perception or not, as more liberal. So that has put many Democrats in a difficult spot. That said, Pelosi is a leader, a strong leader of the party. She does very good raising money, fundraising for other members. She is a strong female leader that the Democrats need and want. So it's a bit of a conundrum for the party.
Yeah, and that strong leadership likely a reason Republicans have a target on her back. Franco, Ordonez, thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.